Hi, until now we have seen what effective computing is and how effective it is. Now we will turn to something else that comes up in the text, criticism, ביקורת. It's easy to understand why the writer feels a bit uneasy or strange about having feelings towards a virtual character. I mean, it's not a person, it's a machine. It can't really understand my emotions or know about my thoughts, can it? Can a machine understand my feelings? Can a machine know what I'm thinking? If you have doubts about this, you're not alone. Let's see what the writer tells us next in the text. Paragraph 7 begins some criticism. Let's see how it begins. If you think this all sounds like an elaborate gimmick, you're not alone. The effective computing effort certainly doesn't lack critics. כלומר, לא חסרים לכל הסיפור הזה מבקרים. The next sentence says, computers should have no more intelligence than a wooden pencil, says Ben Schneiderman. Ha! This is really funny. In any case, this computer science, Ben Schneiderman, says very clearly that he does not think computers should be intelligent at all. So we see now that the writer will focus on critics of effective computing in the text. And our question is, who are the scientists that criticize effective computing? And what are their reasons for criticizing? Before we answer, we will do some skimming of this section. Remember, just reading the first sentence or first few words of the paragraph. This section is long. We want to focus on finding the relevant paragraphs. החלק הזה של הטקסט הוא ארוך. אנחנו רוצים לקרוא את ההתחלות של הפסקאות כדי לראות איפה לתחום את הקריאה שלנו לצורך השאלה. מאיזו פסקה עד איזו פסקה נרצה לקרוא כדי למצוא את התשובה לשאלה שלנו. אז בואו נתחיל. Read the first sentence or a few words of each paragraph from paragraph 7 and onwards. And answer which paragraphs deal with the critics of effective computing. Look for negative words and stop when you see a different topic. Press pause and come back when you're done. Okay, let's see what you've done. We will go paragraph by paragraph to see what the beginning of each paragraph tells us. The first sentence of paragraph 7 we already read. We saw that this paragraph begins the topic. We should be looking for more than one critic. Look at the last word, critics. We go to the next paragraph, paragraph 8. The first sentence says, Jerome Lanier, a pioneer of virtual reality, יש פה איזשהו תיאור של מיהו, נדלג לסוף המשפט, is even more blunt. If you look up blunt in the dictionary, you will see it means בוטה. Remember the wooden pencil? זוכרים את העיפרון? Well, there is someone who is even more blunt than that. So, we continue with the critics. We have one scientist we could name, Jerome Lanier. Let's go on to the next paragraph, paragraph 9. He points out that there is no valid theory or even commonly accepted definition of emotion to guide the work. This sounds like criticism. There's no valid theory, אין תיאוריה תקפה, for something. It's the beginning of some criticism. Let's go to the next paragraph, paragraph 10. The effective computing researchers are used to such barbs. Barbs, החיצות. So, we're talking about the researchers of effective computing, and they are getting those barbs, the החיצות. So probably here we will not be reading about the critics. On the contrary, להפך, this paragraph will probably deal with the supporters or advocates, התומכים, of effective computing. Let's just look at one more paragraph just to make sure we are not missing out on anything. Let's look at the first sentence of paragraph 11. Picard also shrugs off criticism. So now we know. We know who Picard is. Remember her. We read about her earlier in the text. She's a great supporter. She shrugs off. זה ביטוי שפירושו להתנער וגם בלי להבין אותו אפשר להבין את הכיוון הכללי. So, which paragraphs deal with the critics of effective computing? We saw we begin with paragraph 7 until paragraph 9. Paragraph 10 will probably deal with the supporters, התומכים. הערה קטנה לגבי מה שעשינו עכשיו. כשאתם עושים את הסקימינג, זו אסטרטגיה שאתם משתמשים בה לעצמכם. אתם משתמשים בזה כשנוח לכם, ועד שאתם מבינים איפה המידע שאתם מחפשים. זה תהליך מאוד סובייקטיבי, כל אחד לעצמו. ולא תמיד אפשר לדעת מראש במה יעסוק הטקסט, ואי אפשר לדעת איפה לעצור, אין כללי ברזל לתת לכם, אבל בכל זאת אפשר לשכלל מיומנות, ולחדד את הרגישות שלנו לטקסט. אז זה מה שאנחנו מנסים לעשות כאן איתכם. So, skimming is to help you map out ideas in the text. זה עוזר למפות את הרעיונות בטקסט. And use flexible skimming. אתם יכולים להחליט איך זה עוזר לכם. עשו זאת בצורה גמישה. Now we need to read an answer. So, let's go back to our question. Who are the scientists that criticize effective computing? And what are their reasons for criticizing? Take time to read paragraphs 7 through 9. Press pause and come back when you're ready. You're back! That's great! Now I feel a little bit like a virtual character. I mean, how do I know that you came back? But that's between you and me. The first researcher is Ben Schneiderman. That's the one who said computers should have no more intelligence than a wooden pencil. That is not a reason yet, it's just his view. So let's see why he is against effective computing. People using computers need a sense of control and mastery over the technology, he says. Creating the illusion that the machine has feelings will discourage people from taking responsibility for their actions, the machines, and the outcomes of using them. So people might not take responsibility if they think that the computers are more intelligent than them. In paragraph 8, Jerome Lanier worries about us becoming more stupid. Let's see. If people mistake a computer for a human, the explanation has been that the computer got smart, he says. But an equally valid explanation is that the person got stupid. We've learned to accept a certain amount of fake emotion, zuyaf, in our lives from actors and skilled politicians. But if we fool ourselves, אם אנחנו משתים בעצמנו, into believing that a computer cares about us, maybe we're just making ourselves even more emotionally stupid. He also mentions another reason in paragraph 9. He thinks we need a theory. Let's see. He points out that there is no valid theory or even commonly accepted definition of emotion to guide the work. He says that if we don't have a theory, we might stay cute. We will not add to our knowledge. Let's see this in the text. The last sentence of the paragraph begins with if. It's long and difficult. We will try to simplify it, to make it simple. המשפט מאוד ארוך וננסה לפשט אותו. We have a condition, תנאי, if, and a result, תוצאה, then. The result is a risk, סיכון. Let's read it. Then you run the risk of producing things that do not advance human knowledge, but can only be described as cute. כלומר, הוא אומר לנו שאם לא תהיה לנו תיאוריה, קיים סיכון שתייצר משהו שישאר בגבול החמוד, ולא יקדם את הידע האנושי. So, we know who the critics are and what their reasons are. Now, who are the supporters or advocators? מי הם התומכים? This is our next question. Who are the scientists who are in favor, support of effective computing? What are their reasons for supporting? Now, decide which paragraphs you should be reading. Do the skimming if you see it helps you. Press pause and come back when you're ready. You're back. Let's see the answers. We are starting from paragraph 10. We see Nas. We know who he is. He's a supporter. What is his reason? Well, Nas doesn't think we need to have a theory to have effective computing. How hard it is to have a computer say, good for you, when someone does something right. We're not talking about artificial intelligence here. הדברים פשוטים, הוא רואה. זה עוזר, לא צריך תיאוריה. In the next paragraph, paragraph 11, Pickard agrees with Nas that we don't need a theory. But we don't need a theory of emotion to be able to include things like empathy in a digital agent. And she has one more reason. Let's look at paragraph 12. First sentence in paragraph 12. The bottom line is, she says, is that it improves people's lives. זו השורה התחתונה. זה משפר את החיים. מי צריך יותר מזה? In the same way that the emotional intelligence of a canine companion does. באותה צורה שכלב משפר את החיים שלנו. אין לו תיאוריה על מה שהוא עושה, אבל זה עובד. הוא מקשקש בזנב, ואנחנו שמחים. The rest of the section will talk about other topics. We see, for example, that paragraph 13 begins with, there is evidence that emotionally intelligent machines have already improved people's lives. This means that the paragraph will show evidence. מכאן הפסקה הזאת תראה הוכחות. Paragraph 14 starts with, Laura gets results because she reflects the ideal personal trainer. So this paragraph will show us some explanations for Laura's success. אז זה גם נושא אחר. We will not continue with this section, so we are ending lesson 5. What did we learn in our lesson? We learned that there are different opinions about effective computing. We saw that there are critics of effective computing and their reasons. We saw that there are supporters of effective computing and their reasons. How did we learn this? By skimming the section to locate, לאתר, למצוא, to locate their opinions, and by reading paragraphs 7 through 12. In the next lesson, we will continue to section 2. See you there.